In this episode of the Denoised podcast, we're going to talk about AI commercials at the Super Bowl.
And the new discussion around the Academy on AI usage for feature films.
Let's get into it. Well, welcome back to what we are now calling officially the Denoised podcast. I'm Joey Daoud.
I'm Addy Ghani. Welcome.
Yeah. So, Addy, we finally settled on a new name and a new direction of where this podcast is going to go and what we're going to do.
Yeah, I'm really excited because it took a lot of thought. It took a lot of experimenting. As you know, we've been recording, 5 or 6 episodes already.
So far, yeah, sort of kind of either an interviewee or just sort of talking about topical events. But we realized the topical events and just there's so much news happening that this is something that we can keep covering week after week.
Absolutely. There's so much to cover. We're lucky to have experienced this incredible time in media technology. There's stuff happening around AI, stuff happening around real-time rendering, virtual production, and of course, cloud infrastructure is just getting better and better. Hardware, we spent so much time on the RGBW sensor. I think there's a lot of noise on top of the signal. So our job is to denoise it for you, if you will. Walk away with a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of humor, a little bit of entertainment, and we hope you love our show.
So yeah, thanks everyone for joining us on this adventure. We do have a website up. You can kind of get a central spot, so denoisedpodcast.com. And we'll remind you about that at the end of the show again.
Excellent.
So yeah, in this episode, we're recording this Monday. Super Bowl happened yesterday.
You a little tired?
Unfortunately, it's nice being back on the West Coast watching Super Bowl because it's it ends at a reasonable hour, not like if you're on the East Coast and it's going late.
Not ever having lived on the East Coast, I could never relate.
Yeah, that is a very nice thing being here about Academy Awards, all the award shows, and Super Bowl and all that stuff.
I see.
You can go to bed at a reasonable hour.
Yeah, I love the Kendrick Lamar halftime show. Obviously, I think you being in LA and maybe you felt a little bit of LA energy there.
For sure, yeah, with the street light designs and the set design. Yeah, it was good. It was a good halftime show.
Yeah, one of the better ones in a long time.
Yeah, I still think the best one was when it was here in LA with the
Dr. Dre and
50 Cent, Eminem, just everyone just kept popping out everywhere. Yeah.
That was the one to beat for sure.
But so, I mean, yeah, we're not a sports podcast, and also we should probably make a rule to not talk about sports things because my lack of sports knowledge will become very obvious.
Another thing we have in common: I do not follow any sports. Yeah. I'm too busy denoising tech news.
Yeah, unless it's about F1, we can't talk about it.
Okay.
But the thing, obviously, the other outside of playing football at the Super Bowl, the other big thing that everyone loves to talk about are the commercials.
Yeah.
Which I believe are either going for $7 to $8 million per 30-second spot this year.
Prices have gone up. Inflation.
Yeah. The Super Bowl does not get spared. But what we want to focus on specifically is what companies were advertising AI and talking about AI, because obviously this is the biggest platform to send out a message and reach a wide audience, and how were companies framing AI. And specifically, there was a first-time advertiser, OpenAI, had a spot for ChatGPT.
Did you see it?
I did see it.
Okay.
Let's start with that one first. We can start with it. That's a good one to start with.
Yeah. So I saw the OpenAI commercial. To me, it was just a little bit too esoteric and abstract for the mainstream audience, especially the Super Bowl audience.
Yeah, and so just in case you missed it, that ad is basically a animated version made up of a bunch of dots of sort of the history of innovation, going from caveman days to cars, airplanes,
medicine,
and then landing on ChatGPT as being the next wave of human innovation.
Whoa. That's a hell of a connection from all of the achievements in humanity. Look, there's no doubt that AI and ChatGPT is a major achievement, but is it as transformational as humans discovering the new world or fire,
electricity? Yeah, I mean, TBD. Yeah. The ad itself, though, I feel like if you maybe have heard of chat, I'm sure most people maybe just heard it, or AI or something. That's probably the biggest one that they've heard of. I feel like the ad didn't really give you any more information if you didn't really know anything about ChatGPT after the end of it.
And there was no call to action, all the classical marketing things that you built into that. Yeah, and of course that
depends what these brands are trying to do. I felt like they're really trying to own the dot. Like the whole thing was about the black dot. That's sort of like their talkie interface thing on the app that's more consumer facing. And the whole animation was built up of dots.
Yeah, dot matrix animation.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the cheapest part of the entire production. So yeah, I think they're trying to create a ChatGPT brand that is on its own, stands up on its own, other than OpenAI.
Because also it just said ChatGPT. It didn't say anything about OpenAI. So like you had no idea what OpenAI was. You would still not know anything about that. It had the logo, but I mean, only like, tech nerds, people would know about that.
The one thing I think that would have been very beneficial given the price tag of that ad is maybe the differentiation between the Pro plan and the Plus plan and all those things that you get with ChatGPT. Like we talked about Operator in the last episode.
Yeah, or just unlocking like the really crazy stuff you can do.
Yeah.
On like the high level. I mean, have you ever been on a production end of a Super Bowl bot? I'm thinking of like the lead time required and like how fast AI updates are happening, and then the lead time needed to actually prepare a Super Bowl campaign, which is months probably on the short end.
No, it's actually pretty crazy. I think the way Super Bowl ads work is the slots are kind of traded and bartered and bargained, and you probably don't know until the very last minute that you're actually going to get the slot and you're going for it. So a lot of the productions are rushed. I haven't been part of an actual one, but I have friends who have worked on Super Bowl spots in the past.
Okay, and so that does come together pretty quickly.
Yeah. Okay. Like my guess is this ad was shot in the last month,
or
if
animated,
yes.
Generated. I mean, I was not generated. I mean, there was a lot of craftsmanship and.
See, they're not taking our jobs.
Yeah, there is no. Yeah, I'd be curious how much AI they did use in the production of this. Maybe they'll release a making of or something. I'd be curious about that. Of like.
My guess is none.
Even concept pieces, brainstorming.
Because the stakes are so high, right? This is a Super Bowl ad. Every frame and every pixel is vetted. It's almost like feature film level quality. And I don't think there's any room for, pushing something through AI and putting that in there.
Yeah, the pre-production part.
Right.
I know a lot of people online also did not like this ad. It felt just a bit esoteric for the big stage for Super Bowl, for trying to convey to people, introduce like what can ChatGPT do for them. I don't think anyone who wasn't already familiar with ChatGPT would come away from that with curiosity or wanting to know more about like what ChatGPT can do for me.
Absolutely. On the marketing side of things, they generally tend to have a longer term strategy. So maybe this is one of many of the ads that are going to be released. They do have a new CMO and
they're trying to do a whole new rebrand and stuff. Yeah. So this is probably the kickoff to that, a very expensive kickoff.
Yeah, I would actually do the Act 3 at the Super Bowl. So if I were to do it, I would introduce the concepts maybe 6 months before the Super Bowl and then lead up to the grand finale at the Super Bowl spot.
That would have more information about what it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, ideally. Okay, other product advertising. Someone who's already advertised a bunch, Google. It was the Pixel 9 phone, but with the Gemini chatbot. And this was actually a very sweet and endearing spot.
Loved it.
Yeah, father-daughter. Father's doing a job interview or practicing for a job interview, and he's practicing with Gemini, who's giving him feedback on the job interview, but it has this narrative story weaved in of like pretty much the whole fatherhood experience.
Yeah, it's like a Pixar movie. You know, a lot of like integral life moments are built in, a lot of emotional moments are built in, and this type of stuff always sticks. I mean, and it grabs the mainstream audience.
Mm-hmm. Story stick.
Exactly. Story
stick. Shocker.
The best part about it was the Gemini example in there was just so applicable and so like easy to understand.
Yeah, everyone's got to do job interviews or deal with that, and you want to get better, you want to practice.
And there was an actual use case happening. Yeah. You know, you could see the waveform.
Very relatable scenario of how do I get this job?
Yeah, it was really well done.
Endearing story. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe OpenAI should take a playbook note from Google, and Google has been making.
Maybe they should use Gemini to brainstorm their ad ideas. Sorry, OpenAI.
We love you. We just talked about Operator, and
I give you guys $200 a month, so you're the one I spend the most money on monthly.
I spent hours on ChatGPT asking questions. Please don't take it away from me.
So Google, big win. That was a great spot. I know a lot of people also positively reacted to that. And yeah, also just a good, clear example. Like, it's AI, and this is how it can help you.
Yeah,
and it's a positive use case because I don't think Apple Intelligence ran any ads. I didn't see any ads, or I didn't see any mention of them. But when they had ads in the past, those were some of the worst AI use case ads.
Interesting. I did not see any single Apple Intelligence ad that I can remember.
Just in general, ever.
Yeah.
The one that stuck out was like the board employee at the office who has to like draft an email and like can't think of anything, and he's just like wasting everyone's time and bored, and then he like uses Apple Intelligence to like draft an email to his boss, and it's like these are like
kind of cheating.
worst use cases of AI imaginable.
Yeah,
and it was like the bad side of just being like make you lazy.
Yeah, I gotta say, Apple Intelligence just rolled out on my phone. There was a big software update last night, and this morning I woke up to rebooted iPhone. And first thing I did, I go to my email, and then it broke out my email into separate categories, like shopping, important to you, and God,
useful? Was that useful?
Completely not.
Okay.
Yeah. So first thing I did was turn off the categories because it was just going into buckets.
I get the text summarizer thing, and it's usually just I'm like.
But you can live without it.
Yeah, I'm like it's a weird thing, and then I usually have to click on the stack to be like, what are you actually saying? And then I'm like, okay, this defeated the entire purpose of not having to click on the stack.
Yeah, I think,
and that's the least worst offender of Apple Intelligence features. I haven't used it really much to use anything else.
Yeah.
And I know you said there was like the Memoji generator.
There's like a Mid-Journey-esque avatar generator thing where it goes through your phone and it identifies the favorite people on your phone. So in my case, my kids and stuff. And you could pick one of the real people and turn them into any kind of avatars, like a scientist or a doctor.
If I was in high school or middle school, that probably would think that.
Yeah.
I probably would spend a lot of time on that, just messing around.
Right.
Not me, adult me.
Yeah. I need a real text to image generator on my phone. Wouldn't that be cool if Apple just rolled out a Mid-Journey version of its own?
Can you animate those? Because that would be cool, though. The characters, but that uses the AR kit to like map your face. That stuff actually.
That would be cool.
That stuff's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's a cool feature on Apple. I don't know if you could generate your own characters and then it maps it to your face, because that would actually be pretty cool.
I think they're going to have to pay you for that idea. Yeah. That's a great idea.
There you go, Apple. There's a fun, useful feature for Apple Intelligence. Everything else.
Yeah, like they're in such a advantageous position, right? Because they own the hardware. There's millions, probably billions of users on this hardware. They have all the data. They could really turn this into a moment in people's lives where something is easier than before. Mm-hmm. And so far, all of the rollouts have not really added that value to people's lives.
Yeah. I mean, I understand probably the hesitance of like, I mean, they're so massive and so huge, and the downsides of like letting AI run wild on people's data or people's phones. Like,
yeah, it has to be non-destructive.
Yes, they could do some crazy stuff, but they also like at the risk, similar with Google, where it's like, well, they could do some crazy stuff, but they also can't blow up everything else that already exists.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that just comes to my mind is like every time you have a calendar conflict, or you have not enough time between each calendars, you could just go through your calendar and say, hey, these two meetings seem to be off. Do you want to take a look at it?
Yeah, smart. Yeah, that's
something like
seems
that.
Like stuff that would be improve your workflow. There was a hard fork episode, and you wanted an email responder because he's like, you have all my email, and you know how I write. Just like draft responses to these emails, and that make me approve them. But like help me just draft responses that I can like check off, because like you have all the data, and I don't want to give a third party my data. You already have it.
You can create a digital profile of that user, just having enough text and voice from that user.
Yeah, and they have Apple and Google, or the two companies that would have that on all of us already, and not have to give more companies access. All right, tangent. But anyways, Apple did not advertise at the Super Bowl. So
okay. Oh, actually, they did. Or Apple Music was sponsoring the halftime show.
Apple Intelligence did not Apple. Yeah, Apple was very present as a brand at the Super Bowl, just not for AI.
Yeah,
which
they spent the money.
Yeah, which I think Apple Music owning the halftime show made a lot more sense of investment for their money.
Absolutely.
Okay, other AI ad. This one, I mean, interesting. It's slightly different use cases, but it's a Meta and the Ray-Ban hybrid product, the Ray-Ban glasses that have built-in cameras and run Meta and Meta AI. And so it was a riff on the duct tape banana artwork, which the billionaire crypto guy bought and ate at an auction.
Yes.
Semi-recently, but also I think it is the same work of art that went viral a few years ago at Art Basel, which always touches my heart because Art Basel's in my hometown of Miami Beach and has crazy stuff and crazy expensive stuff. Yeah, so this one, it's like kind of a comedy of Chris Pratt and Chris Hemsworth.
Oh yes, I saw a little bit of that.
Using the Meta Ray-Ban glasses to identify things that they are looking at. So funny-ish, I mean, kind of a practical example of what you could use, especially smart cameras on your face.
Yeah.
And
AR applications.
Yeah. Which I feel that'll probably be more practical use cases in the future
100%.
Than full-on VR goggles for most of the public.
And the thing that Meta Ray-Bans have going for it is it's lightweight enough and it doesn't look like hardware enough.
You don't look like a glass hole.
Yeah. And also those two guys, Chris Hemsworth and Chris Pratt, they can make anything look cool.
Yeah.
They're just the biggest action stars on the planet. So talk about, spending the money in the right place.
I mean, that's what as far as like actual, like how is AI useful to me? I don't know, but it was an entertaining ad.
Yeah, I think
I was kind of put in the mid-level of like ads of the AI ad group.
Yeah, I think the maybe perhaps the Gemini one is the top AI ad.
Yeah, I think
and then this
best.
is maybe the second.
Yeah.
And what else? I think GoDaddy had one as well.
GoDaddy had one. Yeah. So GoDaddy, it was, I mean, it's with starring Walton Goggins, who I always enjoy him.
Yeah, he's great.
And yeah, I mean, the ad was entertaining. He's an actor who is saying like, oh, you believe actors, but we don't know anything. And he's like running through different genres, the police detective scene, the space scene, and like causing disaster in each scene. And then the sort of punchline is like, well, if I use, I'm not a web designer, but if I use like GoDaddy's Airo features, I can do all sorts of things that I don't understand how to do.
And right away, you see the Windows desktop and you see him actually use it for generating a logo, generating social media content. Mm-hmm. You're like, that's applicable. That's great.
It was a little bit buried at the tail of the ad, but overall, it's like, okay, I can see practical things I can do with this. It helps me if I'm trying to launch a website or e-commerce. It helps make that process easier.
Yeah, I mean, I have friends that always ask me to build a website for them or, figure out social media for them. And I'm like, I'm not the person for that. Right. If there was an AI assistant, AI agent for that kind of stuff, that would be a start. That would certainly be a start before things get a little bit bigger and you have to actually get real people on it. Yeah.
And with this tool as well, it's nice where it's like, oh, it's built into the thing. So it's not like you got to go to the other website that makes your website with AI and then figure out how to launch it yourself. It's all in one spot.
Great. I'm all for it. And that's a great, fantastic use of agentic AI.
Yeah. And speaking of agentic AI, the other one, the fifth one, and I think pretty much the final one. Yeah. And speaking of agentic AI, the other AI ad, final company, fifth company was Salesforce, who is not a stranger. They've been advertising AI features in their produces, which if anyone could explain what Salesforce is,
I can. It's a cloud-based CRM.
It is a CRM. Did you use it? Have you used it?
Yeah, Disguise. We use it quite heavily. So you can manage your entire sales process on it. So from pre-sales all the way to delivery.
I know what it does on the surface there, but why are these companies so massive? Between like them and HubSpot, they're like,
because
it's just so massive.
Every business needs to generate revenue, and they do it through sales. So it's an essential part of how they operate. I would imagine something like Workday or Bamboo HR are just as important as Salesforce. You don't have to build a team to custom engineering this thing.
There's no like Bamboo HR tower in San Francisco. There's no Bamboo HR con, or like I just like Salesforce is just always like everywhere, and they have like skyscrapers in every town, city.
It's like, doing a lot more than Bamboo. So there's the cloud aspect is like data storage, document storage, video storage. So think of it as AWS with CRM.
Very much a platform.
Yeah, like an internal YouTube could be set up.
Yeah.
So all the employees have access to the same video that outside people don't.
So had you had any experience with any of their AI add-ons?
But I could totally see how AI would improve the Salesforce experience for sure. It's a beast.
They have all the data.
Yeah. And it is like you can almost do too much with it. It's like having control of Premiere the first day. You're like, where do I even start?
Right.
Yeah. So having an agent to kind of guide you through it and teach you things would be helpful.
Okay, in that regard, but also, so I mean, in the commercial, it's Matthew McConaughey's in the airport, and he's like trying to get to his gate, and he was like, "Oh, well, if Agent Force, which is their, I guess what they call their AI aspect, had planned this out better, I could have gotten to." It could have, like, I guess he was sort of implying they could have given him like a more specific route of how to get to his gate, or I don't know, scheduled things differently based on knowing stuff about him. There's another Salesforce commercial with him where he was like dining outside in New York in the rain, and he was like, "Oh, if the restaurant's AI agents knew that the weather was going to be crappy, they wouldn't have booked me outside."
Okay, that's really interesting. So that means the CRM suite, Salesforce, is actually spitting out things for the end user, the customer. So let's say a company has like 10 million customers, then Salesforce is handling individual parsing and sort of curation of what each customer needs to receive. I mean, you're talking about things at scale, and Salesforce can charge like a fraction of a penny per
run per transaction per I mean, kind of like
and that's how they can have a tower,
like how Zapier works. Like every step of the task is a new credit.
Right.
Yeah.
What I do remember is Salesforce accounts within a company tend to be very expensive.
Yeah, that's what I've heard too.
So they're, like if you want to save money, don't put too many of your employees on Salesforce.
I mean, I feel like it's also one of those things too, where it's like once your data's in there and once your customer data's in there, it's very hard to quit.
Yeah, the other thing, I mean, we're segueing a little bit, but it's really fascinating.
We're bringing the noise back into we're bringing noise in.
It's artistic noise. It's like film grain. Salesforce at the time of its inception was so different and so like left league from everybody else. I think at the time, the established players like Oracle and whoever were trying to develop a local data center running CRM. And Salesforce very early saw that the future is cloud. And so they were building the entire thing on browsers and cloud and not applications. And everybody's like, well, Salesforce, they're not sure where that's going. And then fast forward to today, that is the future. And they've clearly predicted their path.
Yeah, they were very successful at that, clearly. I mean, this ad felt like it did kind of give a comical example of like how AI agents could be useful in the real world.
I need to see the Windows desktop. I need to see some kind of computer interface to tangibly connect the technical product to the premise.
Salesforce is also such a kind of a weird thing to add as a company to advertise on the Super Bowl, because the actual customer base that would use this or like sign up for the product is not.
It's a B2B product. Yeah,
pretty small.
This is the ultimate mainstream.
But they do a lot of. I mean, they do a lot of mainstream ads and branding, and I know a lot of people are familiar with Salesforce just by seeing their logo everywhere.
Maybe their strategy is to kind of permeate the brand into a total consumer domain and then work their way up. So those consumers, when they are in a B2B environment, can instantly connect Salesforce to something they recognize.
Or they start a company or something like in the GoDaddy space, and then they're like, I need to, start tracking like sales and leads and stuff, and what do I check out? Because Salesforce does have a entry-level plan. Yeah,
and brands are not built by accident. Everything costs money, and these are probably spends over 10 Super Bowls that'll generate them the future that they want.
Yeah, I'm sure they've mapped this all out way better than we have on a podcast. Those are pretty much, I thought there might have been more AI stuff. I feel like it wasn't, I don't know, as much as I thought I might have seen.
Samsung wasn't there. Samsung is doing a lot of AI stuff.
Yeah, not that I saw.
Yeah.
And I guess nothing really from, the only meta thing was the Ray-Ban.
Yeah.
Gemini wasn't like Gemini standalone. It was Gemini with the Google Pixel phone.
Yep. Adobe wasn't there.
No. Have they ever advertised on a Super Bowl?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It feels kind of big. Yeah, then the only kind of new player was OpenAI and ChatGPT.
Yeah, none of the big M&E players, really,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like Sony wasn't there. Yeah, it's a very much a mainstream year for Super Bowl.
Yeah. A lot of movie trailers. I feel like, I don't know, the Gemini chatbot was probably my favorite. The OpenAI one, probably least favorite. And the other ones were entertaining in the middle.
Yeah. I mean, same. I think OpenAI just needs to do a little bit more homework on the trajectory of the message and also delivering more meat on the bones. And Google's nailed it.
All right, next story, tying into AI. So the Academy has started discussing a requirement for films to disclose the use of AI in order to be, or in their nominating process.
So what I heard about this is they're working on the language now in the SciTech committee of the Academy. And I know a few of them. They're incredibly smart people. So they have a lot of brain power working on figuring out the exact language around, what is AI technology? What are the different categories? And when do you need to disclose it? How can you use it?
Right. That would be useful. Because I saw this headline and I was like, well, so what are we considering AI? And we talked about this before with the Brutalist episode of like AI is such a broad term. We probably need more specific language.
Yeah.
To clarify what we're talking about here, if we're talking about completely generating a performance or speech, or if we're just talking about typical cleanup stuff that's been done forever, and just maybe now we're just using AI tools to improve the process or speed things up a little bit.
Yeah, I think the big bucket that will have the most issue is generation. So what would be, I considered quote unquote generative AI, stuff from text to image or image to video, stuff like that. The reason for that, my guess, is the ethical side of it. It's just, you don't know what the models have trained on. And, if it's stealing artist data, then that is not going to play well with the Academy, which awards artists. The side that I think they're going to have a whole spectrum of AI tools. So the side that will most likely be okay, quote unquote, is exactly the stuff that the Brutalist did, is when AI is used to modify existing things. And with plus the performance, plus the acting,
and the actor's consent, they all signed off on that.
Yeah.
So the discussion happened because there is some backlash is, I feel like, a harsh word, but we talked about this in a few episodes ago. But so the Brutalist,
there's another film that's used Respeecher.
Yeah,
Emilia Pérez.
Yeah, so the Brutalist used AI to clean up some of the dialogue using Respeecher. Emilia Pérez used Respeecher to, I think there was a lot of singing, so I think to modify some of the vocals and the singing.
But is Autotune AI?
Has Autotune won a Grammy?
Put T-Pain in the...
Actually, I did dig into it, but we can maybe in a future episode. But there was a Beatles AI modified or generated song that won a Grammy.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Like intentionally knowing that it was AI?
Yeah, because they're not around if you didn't know that.
Yes.
They broke up. No, I think it was one of I forgot the full story, but I think they found some tracks that weren't finished.
Oh.
And then they did finish it with
Okay. It's
AI.
like how they dropped Tupac albums.
Something like it, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, let's finish this up, drop a couple of, people that sound close enough to Tupac and then massage
Right,
it.
we're like, we see where this was going, or we see the ideas, and we're taking it to the next, the final stages using AI.
Yeah.
We can maybe dive into that in the future because I don't fully know.
Yeah.
Everything.
okay.
I just saw the headline of AI assisted or AI generated Beatles song wins Grammy.
Yeah,
and I don't know what category it was.
So we'll pin the Grammy and the musician side of AI another day, but I really want to get into the Oscar side because it's interesting because, in my opinion, I don't think in the very near future, I'm talking 2-3 years from now, there won't be a film that is Oscar nominated that will not have used AI.
In some fashion. Yeah.
Because the tools are damn near ready if they're not already. And without consent or not, there is some AI, even like ChatGPT or something.
The other issue with the Brutalist was that they used Midjourney on some architectural renderings. And that was a whole other issue. And then it was clarified, like, no, they just used it in the pre-production phase for brainstorming, but everything that was on the screen was created by artists and humans.
Do you see an issue with it?
No, and that's the thing too. When they're saying like no AI, it's like, well, are we talking about just final? What ends up in final frame? Or are we talking about in pre-production? Because that's just that's kind of ridiculous and gets really
Yeah, I mean,
crazy
look,
and fuzzy.
just to kind of clarify my stance, I'm all for the ethical use of AI. I don't think models that are built on unlicensed data should be allowed to make money. And
Yeah, you have to know where the stuff you're using came from, what it's trained on. Yeah, the same idea with that.
Having said that, the same models that are already trained, you could just retrain them on licensed data. Shutterstock and Getty Images just merged, and that's a hell of a lot of data to train from. Not to mention the data that studios have internally. Like if you look at the Disney catalog, right?
Which they're probably all trying to figure out internally how to do this. And we've talked before, there's the Runway Lionsgate deal where they're building their own model trained on Lionsgate properties.
Exactly.
For this exact, because they have the rights.
Yeah.
And I think as the models also get better, where it's like they can create outputs or train on lesser data sets.
They get more efficient, perhaps.
Then you don't need to. I mean, because the initial challenge was like, well, they just needed tons of data and tons of stuff. But if they're more efficient and they could train on smaller data sets, like maybe
distillation,
a movie.
Do you know what distillation is?
Explain that.
Yeah. So supposedly, quote unquote, this is what DeepSeek used to replicate ChatGPT. So they connected a bot to ChatGPT to ask it and interrogate it millions of questions. And what it got was the response back. And, if you have an input and you have an output, you can create a neural network on the back end.
Okay.
So after interrogating ChatGPT many times and having the output, you can kind of replicate what it's doing without actually taking the guts of it. And that whole process is called distillation. Supposedly, the rumor that I heard was when you asked DeepSeek initially, what model are you? It said it was ChatGPT.
I've heard of that, and that was, I think I heard that in relation to the stories of why they think that DeepSeek ripped off ChatGPT.
And why it was so cheap to begin with.
Yeah.
Because you don't need nearly as much crunching to train the model as you do.
But I mean, is that because ChatGPT already did the work? And
ChatGPT is pre-trained and it is already... it's already sophisticated, right? So all you have to do is replicate it just enough.
Yeah. So, I mean, could you make a DeepSeek without ChatGPT existing?
Great question. And the answer is probably not.
Yes, you can. You just use Claude.
Yeah, no, I'm really like, there's like a blow for blow, like almost like a ping pong match happening between the DeepSeek supporters and the DeepSeek deniers. And I'm not sure who's right and who's wrong. Maybe a little bit of both, but it's because we covered this on our DeepSeek episode. Like, of course, Team America, right? We want ChatGPT and the American models to win and be the best in the world. But if Chinese are more innovative and they figure out another way, then that could totally disrupt our market. But it could be better for AI in general. It could advance in a way that we've never predicted. It could be more efficient, cheaper, so more people can have access to it. So it's the one we're going to probably talk about over the next few episodes.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe the question will be answered too once we see other companies or something replicate what DeepSeek did and how they did it, and if they're a bit more open about how they did it. And that might answer the distillation question too of can you make a large language model, but training on lesser data.
Yeah, the other thing that I heard about, and just to kind of touch on DeepSeek a little bit, is the GPU training was far more efficient because they were able to access a lower level of the GPU than CUDA. Generally, CUDA is the architecture, NVIDIA architecture that you can leverage to get to the bare metal. And
that is their like programming language, right? To use NVIDIA chips.
Yeah, so basically CUDA turns any GPU into a general purpose GPU, basically like a CPU. So instead of doing graphics related tasks, you can do any task on it. So an AI task would be mostly matrix multiplications and convolutions, and a CUDA language model would allow you to get very efficient output out of that GPU for that. Going back to the Oscars, though, here's my question to you, Joey.
Yeah.
Let's say in a couple of years we will have figured out the ethical model, right? So that won't be a question mark or a gray area anymore. So now that you have this AI thing that is quote unquote ethically checked, would that still be an issue then in that case?
I have an AI model that is ethically like it's
clean.
right. Okay, let's say Adobe Firefly for example, because I know that they tried it on training on clear data.
If you use Adobe Firefly on an Oscar-nominated film, does that cause as much issue as using something like OpenAI?
Well, I guess what's the application? Like, what are we doing?
Right.
What do we?
Right.
But that ties into so much. Even when they're talking about modifying a performance or an actor's performance, like going even all the way back to Eisenstein and the fundamentals of editing. Editing modifies our perception of a performance, or the gaze object gaze of like that, where they did an example where they took a shot of a guy, show him looking at a bowl of soup, cut back to the same shot of the same guy, copy paste of the same guy, and then he's looking at a kid, and it's like the reaction was, oh, he's like hungry looking at the soup. Oh, he's like endearing looking at the kid. This was like or I forgot who did the experiment. This was like an early 1900s.
Oh, I love it.
Experiment of the power of editing.
Yeah.
So, editing, we're modifying the performances.
Yeah.
Or our perception of the performances already. So
I think that the touchy
film's
point
not real.
Yeah.
Film is not spoiler. This is
Newsflash: film isn't real.
What you see on screen is not real.
I think the touchy point is going to be SAG and the actors, the screen actors.
And that was an issue, in the last negotiation, which I mean, understandable.
I mean, they literally make their living off their likeness, and if you were to take their likeness away from them without their consent, or even with their consent, sometimes, like, what do you render them useless, right? So, like, Harrison Ford's a great example. Like, he's getting to the end of his career, right? But the world wants more Harrison Ford. He's in Star Wars. He's in Indiana Jones. And so is Disney going to continue to make Harrison Ford films, just licensing his likeness?
And he had a good quote recently, an interesting quote, which I feel like hints to me where, like, AI will go, of, like, still being human driven, but kind of backgrounds and other elements enhanced. So his quote or his comment was about Troy Baker's performance as Indiana Jones in the new video game. So it was a character. I mean, it was a younger actor acting for mocap, I believe,
for a game.
But I mean, but they used Harrison Ford's likeness as Indiana Jones in the game, but it was Troy Baker's performance.
What did Harrison say?
He said, you don't need artificial intelligence to steal my soul. You can already do it for nickels and dimes with good ideas and talent. He, meaning Troy Baker, did a brilliant job, and it didn't take AI to do it.
See, there you go.
Right. So it's like, okay, he kind of best of both worlds. He still got a good human performance, but we were able to still tap into the classic Indiana Jones, which, like, Harrison Ford has really been the kind of one and only person to embody that character.
Yeah, there you go. So there's somebody that embraces the shifting tides, and I think
it's like de-aging and all these technologies too. I mean, we're modifying it's their performance, we're modifying their look.
Yeah,
where does that fall?
Yeah, I mean, Harrison, I'm sure, wouldn't mind looking younger in some of the films.
He did in the fifth one that I didn't see, but
I don't know if it used AI or not, but there's definitely some face swapping going on.
Right. Yeah. Or I mean, also that's with the lingo thing. It's like maybe it wasn't AI, but it was probably machine learning, which kind of falls in the same bucket, but it's also different.
Yeah.
Same regards of, like, I feel like deepfake's a bit derogatory, but the company behind here. But it was created with the guy
Tom
who
Hanks
created the Tom Cruise deepfake.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like intense de-aging, but they use AI and machine learning to make that based on all of the older Tom Hanks training data.
And I can tell you, working in facial capture and the motion capture side of things, like, that technology has existed for at least 10 years. Like, it's nothing new. It is using computer vision, and you can train it to be a little bit better or worse. Like, there are some dials, but would you call that AI? Probably not.
Right. That's where I think, like, we need more specific lingo about what we're doing and what we're calling these processes and the technologies.
I think the public really fears the aspect of AI that is, like I said, the generation from nothing.
Yeah. Or the, I don't know, replacement of, like, craftsmanship.
Yes. Yeah. Like, a good example of where I think we're going to see a lot of heads butting is when famous musicians, their likenesses are used to create tracks that go viral, generate millions of views on YouTube,
and they have nothing to do with it.
They have nothing to do with it. They don't profit from it. I think that is where the legality and ethical issues come in really, really strong.
Yeah.
And depending on how that plays out, that will dictate how the Oscars rules kind of play out down the road.
And so what you were saying, as far as you know, the rules are being developed by the
SciTech committee. Yeah.
Okay. And so, but the rules will apply for whatever categories, like broad categories in the future, like best picture or best.
Yeah. The best
actor,
people to
actress.
You talking about like the most prestigious VFX supervisors, executives that have spent decades on behind the computer. They know the trade so well. It's those people that know what tool is AI and to what extent, and is it ethical, is it not? So it's in great hands. And I'm really curious to see what the output of that committee is on the ruling. I could tell you from like a past experience, in any use of motion capture in an animated film, I believe disqualifies it for an Oscar.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like not something that a lot of people know about. And I believe what kickstarted that was Gollum in Lord of the Rings, because Gollum was mocapped Andy Serkis's very first mocap breakout role.
Yeah, I mean, that character was Andy Serkis.
Yeah,
much, like
right.
But it was disqualified from
I believe
animation.
Animation, yes.
Well, but I mean, it wasn't an animated film.
It's not animated. So I think the
I guess maybe like a Lion King or something. If
right.
The CG version. I don't remember. I don't know the deal if they were trying to do best animated and it wasn't qualified because that was a sort of a mocap.
Sorry, it's either that or I'm going to say Beowulf or one of those movies. That's like the very early mocap uses.
Yeah, that was an early.
It's like, wait a minute, you can't call this an animated film because that
was an early mocap. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So maybe it was Beowulf and not Gollum.
Okay. You still feel like that was what 10, 15 years ago. You
Minimum
still feel
15
like
to 20 years ago. Yeah.
That rule should apply for the animated category.
Yes, I think animation, to its core, is not real. It's stylized. Stylization can only be done by hand. So, for example, in animation, you have something called push and pull. So when a big, heavy character lands hard on the floor, the entire torso kind of squashes, and then as he comes up, it stretches. So there's
that's one style of animation. To like exaggerate the reality and physics.
Yeah, and there's a lot of like animation rigs in CG. Sometimes they're so over-engineered to break because no human rig can ever point a finger that way or bend their elbows that way. And so animation was never meant to be based on something real. It's completely meant to be stylized and to the whim of the animator, like take it as far as you can.
They could still do that if they do mocap. It depends. Like, I mean, if they use it as a base, I mean, because where's the line from even hand-drawn animation with like original old school rotoscopes where they would like film a person and then use that.
They still do it.
Trace the performance or to like at least get the movement. Yeah. And then bring their own
animation reference is widely used, and now AI is used to get the reference onto your character, right? Like Move AI would, I'd imagine, be perfect for that.
Yeah, that's what kind of the first thing that came to mind.
Yeah, but the argument is that grounds you to a reality that you can't come out of. So when you're looking at a mocap performance, you're kind of basing your animation decisions on a real performance, and you're no longer playing in the stylized space. That's just my take. I think the Academy is right about this particular rule. So I'm interested to know what they're going to declare for the AI stuff.
Right. Well, you have to declare, and if that affects your eligibility.
Yes.
I'd be curious. I'm curious to see what they do for next year. I think also the bottom line is, and we kind of mentioned this in the AI copyright episode, is we're going to have to like track more of the workflow and tools used in our process. Because for the AI copyright, it was sort of like, you're going to have to, so when you submit
you better have
protection, you have to kind of
receipts for
verify
everything.
What the process was and what tools were used and how it was like the humans improved it. Yeah. And here for Academy Award, not that, I mean, there's already tons of documentation on the back end of post, but
what do you think it does for filmmakers now in 2025 that are making a Oscar nominated feature that's going to come out next year? Like, you're in a really weird spot.
I feel like you're already you're already feeling a bit weird if you were using some AI tools after the
So do you pull
Brutalist backlash and other. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, that's a
in some
tough
cases
one.
you don't really have a choice.
But if
too.
you
Like
pull
Brutalist was
back-
like, money wise, we couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Now I
we
don't
had a
have the
$10 million
budget.
Yeah, we don't.
Yeah.
We can't do it any other way.
Yeah. So it puts filmmakers in a difficult spot while the industry kind of figures out where the line is being drawn. I would say, to my advice to filmmakers is like, go make the film that you want to make with the tools that you want to
Make
use.
the best one possible first, and
Yeah. And if
Academy
the
doesn't
film
always
is
get it
good
right.
enough, I think the rules will kind of bend to it.
yeah. I mean, last tangent, but Dune 2 soundtrack was ineligible, even though I think that was one of the best soundtracks of the year because he reused a few scores or something from the Dune 1. Oh. And that made it ineligible, Hans Zimmer. So,
okay.
There's like some rules where it's like, that seems a little bit silly.
Yeah. No, and just having been part of an Academy thing last year, this guy was part of like a nomination. I'll just say that. And they're so cross their T's and dot their I's. Like it is as formal of a organization, as well run as it could be. There is not the event itself that I attended, everything was so well planned. And even like, I'll show you like the card that my name got printed on, the cardstock itself was so nice. And it's like, this is a committee
Very
that
American Psycho.
yeah. I was very bone white. I was very impressed. And they're not going to come out with anything that is less than stellar and less than perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it's good. I'm glad to hear that the technical committee's involved as well, and it's like it'll be well thought out. So I'm curious to see how this plays out. And to your note, how this affects films that are finishing up right now that are aiming to be eligible for next year. Yeah.
And the last thing I'll say is regardless of this being like an American thing, the Academy, making judgments on a certain number, just the very top 1% of productions, right, that are going to Oscar qualify, it's going to have a ripple effect for tier 2, tier 3 and productions around the world, because then you finally have a compass of what's good or what's bad, and they're going to influence the AI industry more than they know that they are going to do it.
And that is the show.
Hey, everyone. So we just decided on the podcast theme, structure, name, logo, icon, all types of things. Joey and I have been going back for hours and weeks on this stuff. We'd really appreciate it if you can give us an early support, whether that's a review on Spotify or a like or anything, on LinkedIn or on YouTube on Joey's VP Land channel. At this stage, every little bit counts. And if you love the show, please support us. That'll go a long way. So thank you.
So as Addy just said, please leave a review, Denoised Podcast on whatever app you choose, and hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to us. We also have a website up where you can kind of get all the links to everything, the videos, the audio. It's going to be denoisedpodcast.com, and also show notes and every links to everything we talk about will be there. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll catch you in the next episode.